How is everybody this morning? Doing good? Are you happy to be you? Are you happy to be alive? Are you happy to be here now? Wow, that sounds pretty enthusiastic. Well, let me tell you a little story about my cousin Ozzy. I talked to him about 10 days ago, and he was just absolutely miserable. Physically, he was ailing. He says, I don't know what it is. He says, my entire body is just racked with pain. I'm sore all over. I can't sleep at night. I said, Ozzy, you got to go to the doctor. I don't think this is good. So Ozzy goes to the doctor, and he says, Doctor, I don't know what's wrong, but if I push my neck, I just shoots pain through my body. If I touch my leg, the pain is unbearable. If I touch my chest, it really hurts. And the doctor said, Ozzy, sit down. He took Ozzy's hand in his, and he lifted it up. He said, your finger's broken. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. Well, I have 3 questions for you, and you know the answer. When you look in the mirror, what do you see? Friend or enemy? Something you like or something you dislike? When you look in the mirror, what do you see? And the second question is, what do you feel? Do you feel a sense of distaste, a sense of rejection, a sense of desire that you look like somebody else? And the third question is, why do you feel that way? What is it? I'm not talking about all of us, but the vast majority of human beings, we have this sense of self-criticism that is very, very harsh. Researchers have found that when somebody looks at a picture and the person who's looking at it is in the picture, immediately they'll scan until they find themselves. When they find themselves, they'll focus in on themselves, and usually their response is negative. They do not like what they see. And I'm wondering how all that got started. It's not natural. No place else in nature outside of the human species can you find any living thing that looks at itself with distaste or with any sense of rejection or with any sense of unworthiness. We as human beings are the only one. We didn't come into the world that way. We weren't born with low self-esteem. We had absolutely no sense of not being good enough or no sense of wishing that we were something other than what we were. And when I go down into the Montessori school downstairs, we have babies now, and I think we have 5 or 6 babies. There's 2 adorable little babies, twin babies from West Africa. They're about 6 weeks old. And there's another little baby that is about 6 months old. And anyway, they're just lying there, and they have none of the stuff that we have. They don't have this obsession with constantly monitoring ourselves or constantly judging ourselves as to, am I good or am I not good? And a lot of that comes from the way we are raised. It comes from our culture. And there are 3 C's that are very, very negative. The first one is comparison. We compare ourselves to others. If we compare ourselves to somebody that seems to shine in a certain area more than we do, we feel bad about ourselves. And so to overact that feeling, we find somebody that doesn't quite shine as well in a certain area as us. And that makes us feel a little better because we've demoted or depreciated another person. So I'm just wondering, how do we shake this? We don't have to go through life feeling as if the self that we have been given, which is a wonderful, incredible thing, the self that you are, the self that you have, has never existed before in all of time. It'll never exist again. It is unique. You're an individual. It is a gift. It is a treasure. So how on earth can we look at that and second-guess God and say, but this isn't quite right, or that isn't quite right? It's because we're bombarded with that message in almost every area of life, from advertising to growing up in a school system where people are graded as very smart or very dumb. The athletics, which competition in athletics is fine, but still those that can't seem to make the team have a sense of not being able to be quite what they should be. And we don't allow them other channels to explore and find their talents. My daughter was on swim team when she was 10 years old. And I was working on Saturdays at that time, so she would go and do her swim thing, or dive meet, it was diving. And then I'd come home at night, and she'd always have a ribbon, and it was a first place ribbon. And it was just incredible. Finally, the end of the year came, and the big dive meet to determine who was the best of the best was going to take place, and daughter Kristen was in it. And so I decided to take off work, and I'd go watch her. Well, as someplace way out in Overland Park, I kind of got lost getting there. I ended up getting there late, just as Kristen's division was about to dive. So I take my place in the bleachers with about 80 other people. And I kind of have to digress here for a minute. Kristen's 10 years old, and that's kind of an awkward age for boys and girls. The bottom part of her body had grown, so she had very long legs, but the top part of her body hadn't, so she had a very short top part of her body. Very gangly. Her arms hung down to her knees, and her feet had grown, but she was adorable. She's the most adorable, gangly kid that I've ever seen. So anyway, it comes her time to dive, and she comes up, gets up on the diving board, and in my mind, I'm starting to envision this sight, and I see her pace herself off 3 feet from the end of the board. And in my mind, I see her taking the 3 steps, bouncing down on the board, going up high, bouncing down on the board again, and then soaring through the air with her arms spread, and then going into the water without making a splash. I knew she was going to do that because she'd gotten first place ribbons. So she gets up there, she gets ready to go to the board. She takes 3 steps, stops, holds her hands up like this, and plops into the water. It wasn't even a dive. It wasn't even a good belly flop. And I was sitting there absolutely shocked. It's what is going on here? Is she joking? Is this some kind of a trick? She's first place in her division. How can she get there when she dives like that? Immediately, I went into a judgment mode. Well, after the meet, she comes racing over, and she had a trophy. She got first place. That's, wow, that's fabulous. Excuse me a minute. I need to talk to the coach. So I went over and I asked the coach, I says, my daughter won first place, and that's great. I absolutely adore, but tell me, where are the other people in her division? And what division is she in? He said, well, Kristen's in the 10-year-old division for girls who were born November 9th in the morning, who have blonde hair and blue eyes and are left-handed. In other words, she's the only one in the division. Now, the beauty of that, the thing that woke me up with that insight was everybody won. Every single person that dove that day was a winner and got a trophy. And so I asked him about that. How can this be a competition if everybody wins? And he says, well, let me tell you something. She's 10 years old. Her body is growing, and she's a little bit awkward. But she's 10 years old, she's 75 pounds, she went to the end of a board and fell into 8 feet of water. That deserves a trophy. Whoever does that, in my book, is in first place. And so I started thinking about that, about all the judgments that I had put on my children to excel and to become better, and all the stuff that I carried when I was growing up about you have to achieve this high level of status in comparison to everybody else, and that made I was in competition with everybody else, and what that caused was a great deal of internal conflict. It was the people that were better than me kind of became the enemy, and inside, I myself became my own enemy because I just couldn't be as good as I thought I should be. Now, all of us have faced that at some degree or another. I would venture to say that the vast majority of us in this room suffer from some sense of low self-esteem. We have some degree of unworthiness, no matter how little it might be, but it is still there. And we didn't come into the world with that as a prerequisite. We learned that somewhere from someone And the more we thought about it, the bigger it became until it came to occupy a huge part of our life. It plays out in our relationships, it plays out in our workplace, it plays out in the way we feel about ourselves, our general sense of happiness. Now, the bottom line, and we talk about this quite often, the bottom line is we have been chosen to exist. Each and everybody in here has life. We're 1 in 10 billion. So no matter what circumstances or situations you're facing in your life, you can always move to that point within, that special place, that spiritual place within, where you can genuinely say, I am happy to be alive. I don't like what's going on out there. I don't like what's happening with this relationship. I really hurt and I'm suffering over that situation, but I am happy to be alive no matter what. And the second thing is I'm happy to be me. You are who you are. You're an individual. As I said before, you're very, very unique. The body, the soul, the mind, the heart that you have is yours. And it's all yours. And there's not a single person in this room that's imperfect. There's not a single person in this room that is less worthy than any other person, although advertising would lead us to believe so. We can't drive down the road without seeing a sign of some sort telling us that we need to change and become like that person. We can't turn on the television or the radio without hearing a commercial that we have to do this or we have to do that in order to become what we should be. And the fact of the matter is, we are here, we are right now. You are who you are, no matter what is going on, no matter what your size, no matter what your academic level is, no matter what your habits are, no matter what you've done in the past. You are here, and there's always that place within where you can say, I am happy to be me. And the third thing is, I'm happy to be here now. You're here, wonderful, beautiful setting. We're having a good time. I hope all of us become inspired in some sense to go out and live a better life and to be a better service to the world. But that can take place wherever you're at. You can be in the midst of the most difficult situation or involved in the greatest conflict. And you can always say, I am happy to be here now because I can do something to make this better. I can say a kind word to somebody that I'm in conflict with. I can say I'm sorry to somebody I hurt. I can lend a helping hand. I can lend a compassionate ear. I can give a smile. No matter where you're at, no matter what situation you're in, you can always make things better. And that's why those three affirmations, no matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing, no matter what's happening in your life, I am happy to be alive, I am happy to be me, I am happy to be here now, need to be reinforced every single minute of the day. Not that you have to say it, but at some point you just have to feel it. I have life, I am me, I am here on this incredible earth with 7 billion other people and hundreds of billions of other life forms in this incredible thing called existence. So as we move into meditation, just think about that for a moment. You might have come today with problems or challenges. You might have suffered from depression in the past. You might have had personality conflicts with other people. You might have had self-esteem issues. All of that is part of life. It's nothing that we really need to fix. It just means that we need to kind of move beyond it and stand on the ground that says, I am happy to be alive, I'm happy to be me, I'm happy to be here now. We'll now move into meditation.
As we move into meditation, I invite you to make yourself comfortable. And take a deep breath and slowly exhale. And just do that for a moment. Just breathe in slowly and breathe out with a sense of relief, a sense of release. Breathe in slowly and breathe out with a sense of rejoice, renewal. Oftentimes when we get overwhelmed by the piddly-diddly things in life that disturb us and disrupt our normal state of mind, it is very easy to bring us back to that center point. And it's simply by slowing down a bit, as we're doing now, putting your hand over your heart, thinking of some time in the past that was extremely enjoyable for you, or think of something or somebody in your life that brings forth a sense of great love and appreciation. Or just give thanks for something. Whatever it might be, just thank you. I express my gratitude for the life that I have. I express my gratitude for the person I am. I express my gratitude for being here now, consciously alert, mobile, surrounded by other loving people. Life can be tough, challenging, problematic, but that never shadows out the joy of living. Down at the core of our foundation, in the heart of our soul, there is a jubilance of being happy to be alive. We'll now move into the silence, and as we do, I invite you to just rest easy. If thoughts come into your mind, just acknowledge them, observe them, and let them pass by like the clouds in the sky. Don't worry if you get distracted. Pay no heed if a worry slips in. Just rest. Rest mighty in the realm of spirit, in body, mind, and spirit. We move into this silence. Ever so gently begin to bring yourself back. Allow yourself to become more aware. Feel a sense of appreciation for where you are. Open yourself up to the beautiful music that's about to be sung. And as I speak these words, make them your own and say them back to yourself. I'm happy to be alive. I'm happy to be me. And I am happy to be here now. And so it is.
Sweet Holy Spirit, sweet heavenly dove, stay right here with us, filling us with your love. And for these blessings, we lift our hearts in praise. Without a doubt, we'll know you have been revived when we shall